Yeah. I got it covered just.
Come on in, folks. There's a few seats down in front as well.
Nobody wants to sit with you, buddy. Nobody.
Buddy, do you bite? On the cake. Let's take our seat, folks. We're getting ready to get started, please. Thank you very much. We're calling the meeting to attention at 7 o'clock, the 19th of May, 2025. Calling the meeting to order. We do welcome everyone, by the way. And we do have a quorum here tonight. And so let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Pullman. Shad, what? We need a motion to vote on the replacement for District 6 number 1, Mr. Shad Hale.
I vote on the appointment Chad Hill.
Do you have a motion?
I motion.
Do you have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Shad Hale, can you approach for us so we can give you your oath of office, sir? Please right hand, please. State your name, please.
I, Shad Hale,
You solemnly swear to affirm
I solemnly swear or affirm
that I am a citizen of the United States and the state of Washington,
that I am a citizen of the United States and the state of Washington,
and that I'm legally qualified to assume the office
and I'm legally qualified to assume the office
of Monster Rock School Board Director number 1.
of Monster Rock School Board Director number 1,
That I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States
and the state of Washington,
and the state of Washington,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge those duties
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge those duties
of this office to the best of my ability.
of this office to the best of my ability.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. All right. One of the pleasurable things to do is welcome a new member. It brings fresh ideas and fresh perspectives. Welcome, Shad. We look forward to working with you moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay, we also have on the next part of the agenda is staff and student spotlight.
Actually,
Correction. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I have a correction to it.
We have a correction.
Yeah, I need to walk in the approval of Perkins 4-year plan and needs assessment.
Do I have a motion, first of all, to amend the agenda?
Motion to amend the agenda.
Do I have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. So we have approved the amended agenda. Now we'll move to student and staff spotlight.
Well,
Mr. Superintendent, would you like to
absolutely.
lead on that?
I'm going to say words, I guess. Wow, what a great group of people here tonight. We do have a number of people to recognize, so this may take a few minutes. We're going to recognize and showcase some of our students. And I'm going to start with the youngest guys, because I know they're eager to get home and get into bed before the sun goes down, right? Right? Yeah? Yeah, that was kind of weak. Yeah. Okay, so. What name is Fitzhugh?
Hey, I'm Mrs. Fitzhugh. I teach second grade. Crystal Schwartz is my partner. Her daughter is celebrating their birthday tonight, so she could not be here tonight. But we have a couple kids, 4 kids from second grade, some from her class, some from my class. One of the fun projects that we've been working on in second grade is learning about seasons and cycles, life cycles specifically. We've done quite a bit with plants and with frogs, but the biggest one that we really focused on was the life cycle of chickens. And that this is something that I have been doing for a long time, but it's something that has been very enjoyable for the kids. They get to write about, sometimes they choose to write about the life cycle itself. Sometimes they choose to write about the development of the chickens from embryo through hatching. They do quite a bit of writing. They do journaling every day as they track the progress of their chicks. We incubate them in our classroom, and then we get to go, watch them hatch, which always is very exciting. I have chosen a few kiddos. I could have chosen any of them. All of the second graders were very excited about the process and worked very hard on their projects. Today, I chose a few kiddos who we brought along a picture of them with their chick that they hatched. They brought their chick science journal where they tracked the progress. They made little diagrams, things like that. So they'll share those with you. And then if I've told them that they could choose to read what they wrote about it, or I've told them that they could just share maybe what their favorite part of it was. So I'm going to ask my second graders to just one at a time. So we'll start over here on the end. Nathan, if you'd like to go first, he'll introduce himself. And then Nathan, you can just give them the pictures in the journal to look at. And then you can choose whether you want to read your writing or whether you want to just share what your favorite part of the process was.
Hi, my name is Nathan,
Hi, Nathan.
and I'm in second grade. Nice to meet with you, and I'm here to show you there was stuff about me and chicken.
Okay. Thank you, Nathan.
Well,
Who's that?
Me.
That's you. Okay. That's not you though. What's that chick's name?
What did you name your chicken, Nathan? Tom.
This is Tom the chicken and Nathan.
Just gonna show. Okay.
Nathan, do you want to read it or do you just want to show?
That's what I asked him. He said, yes, sure.
Okay. That's the embryo life cycle.
Impressive. Ooh.
Okay. This is his journal, everyone. And he's following the embryo's life cycle.
Nathan, how many days does it take an egg to hatch?
21 days, which is 3 weeks.
Yep. Okay. Wow.
Nathan, can you share what your most favorite part of the process of hatching chicks was?
Watching the happen.
What can you share something that you learned about chickens that you didn't know before? I'll put you on the spot.
It's hard to think up here.
It is, I know.
Well, it was very impressive being in your classroom the other day. Thanks for letting me hang out for a minute and see those chicks. You guys knew so much. I was very impressed. Yeah.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I went to the classroom as well and had the wonderful opportunity to view the chicks, look at the bean plant life cycles, and actually read a book to all the kids. And so that was an amazing experience to just feel the energy in the room and understand how important teachers are in this institution and the learners that are populating these buildings and how really important it is to our community.
You got to experience May in a classroom, which is always fun. Would you like to share? Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Adeline. I'm in Ms. Schwartz's class, and I'm in second grade. This is my picture with my chick.
Nice. You seem pretty happy about that.
Yes, look at that. Oh, that's a darker one.
Adeline, do you feel comfortable reading yours? Okay, let's listen to Adeline. You can go ahead and read it aloud.
Have you ever hatched a baby chick? Well, I have. It was cool. First, the egg is laid in the nest. The chick hatches from the egg. Then A teenage chick is called a cockerel. If it's a boy or a girl, it's called a boy. Last, a parent or an adult. Boy is called a rooster. A girl is called a hen. Then the cycle starts all over again. That then the that is cool. Isn't that amazing?
That is
Yes.
amazing. You know what else is amazing? The use of your transition words in that writing. Wow.
Yeah,
Nice
I
job.
I'm
like
glad
it.
that you noticed that.
Very cool.
Alex, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Alex and I'm in second grade and this is booklet of what I drew.
Nice. You like chicks as a child. Very nice, Alex.
And then my picture.
Look at that smile. Yeah.
And I named mine Fluffy.
Fluffy? Because he's fluffy? Yeah, okay.
Alex, do you feel comfortable reading yours or do you want to pass it? You want to read it? Okay, speak nice and loud so everyone can hear you.
I love when chicks are first born. First, the egg is beginning to be made. Next, the egg will hatch. Then they go into the brooder box. Last, we hold the chicks and take pictures, and some of us got pink stars. Funny. They go home where they live. It was very, very, very fun hatching chicks. I named mine Fluffy, and one of the chicks were early. This is why I love baby chicks.
Impressive reading voice you have. Very nice.
Very nice.
Thank you, Alex.
Hi, my name is Esme. I'm second grade. I'm in Miss Fitzy's class, and this is my picture.
And did you name your chick?
Mine is named Footy.
Buddy. Okay. Nice.
Here's my picture.
Esme, do you feel comfortable reading yours?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Yeah,
Did
read
I
away.
read it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chirp, chirp, chirp. What is that sound? I hear chicks chirping. First, it starts as an egg or an embryo. Next, it starts to develop. Then, once the egg hatches, it is called a hatchling. Last, a girl is called a hen, and a boy is called a rooster. The hen lays an egg, and the rooster fertilizes the egg, and the life cycle starts over.
Nice.
That's wonderful.
I'm gonna go on record. This is the best board meeting I've ever been to.
Next time I come to your class, I'll let you read me a
Yeah,
story.
amazing. He's satisfied.
I'm super impressed with the second graders, the way they took to not only the process, but the vocabulary and just the process and the excitement in the classroom was palpable.
We were very excited.
They were. I needed a lot of coffee.
But we had to make sure the volume was still good because we don't know how one of the chicks died.
Yeah, one of our chicks did die, but we learned a lot about the life and the death of farm animals, and sometimes that happens.
I wish they don't die.
We did make also little chicks, or little eggs that the kids decorated and then we laminated and put on their chairs. The kids got to incubate their own little eggs by keeping their bottoms in their seats. And then something hatched out of it if they stayed in their seats.
Wow.
We also learned that the volume in the classroom has to be really quiet. while the chicks are in the incubator, so that, it helps them to grow and develop. So the classroom was a little bit quieter for a while, wasn't it? What hatched out of your eggs on your seat?
A little chicken.
Yep, a little.
And I have mine made a little pet.
Well, thank you for letting us share. We had a couple other kids that, were gonna come, but baseball,
Sure.
baseball took over.
Well, thank you so much, second grade. I'm very
Yes.
impressed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fitcher, for bringing them and sharing with us. And I'm gonna move on with some other kiddos, all right? Is that all right? We can move on for a second. We're gonna jump up a little bit. And do I have Sadie Rashoff in the house tonight? Come to the front, Miss Sadie. I get to read what some teachers have said about Sadie Rashoff and just give her this little thank you. Sadie Rashoff is a wonderful student to have in class. She is respectful, focused, conscientious, responsible, and very caring individual. I appreciate Sadie's willingness to go above and beyond in everything she does, which makes her accomplishments over the top. Wonderful work, Sadie. Thank you for all you do. There's nothing in there special, but I'm going to get you a little something special following like you next week. or something. Yeah. Thank you, Sadie. Sadie, stay up here because Mr. Rose might want a picture of all of you guys.
Yeah.
Next, we need Cody Allen. Are you in the house? There we go. Yeah.
Where's Cody?
He's coming. Cody. I'm just going to read this stuff. Is that okay with you? So Cody Allen is a calm, quiet, caring, responsible person who always wants to give his best effort. He has worked in organizational skills this year and it's paying off. Cody's determination and drive have helped him excel academically, making his accomplishments right on point. Great job, Cody. Congratulations, Cody. Thank you. Leland Armstrong, are you in the building? Where is Leland? There he is. I see him. I'm going to say I saw him when I said it. Here you go, Mr. Leland. Thank you. Leland Armstrong. That's you, right? Yeah, I thought you it was. He always talks to me in the hallway. Thanks for talking to the hallway. Leland has shown immense growth this school year. He is always communicating his concerns, questions, and excitement about his assignments in school. He loves to share his ideas and his love of Legos, which is always appreciated. He's a very self-aware individual, actively working to be successful in all aspects of life and open to only recommendations not only the recommendations he receives from others. Leland is thoughtful, kind, and passionate individual, which all serve him well. Thank you, Leland. And Abigail Berg. Where's Abigail? There she goes. You have something to showcase, right, Abigail? Let me read about you, and then you can share what you have. So Abby is a stellar student. She's always on task, excited, and ready to put her best work on all of her assignments. She showcases her understanding of content in tandem with her beautiful artistic skills. Abby is the first to be a helping hand in the classroom, asking questions for her peers or helping them when they are struggling. I am always excited to see Abby's finished products and have loved seeing her grow and succeed throughout the school year. Thank you, Abby. Tell us what you got.
So I did a project on the Pacific Ocean. It was the ecosystem.
Here, let me see it. I'll hold it up for you, for everybody to see.
What about the Pacific Ocean?
Well, I did the impacts from humans and how the ecosystem plays all together, like the bugs, the different animals and plants, and where it is. I did a little background on it.
Pretty cool.
I did a bunch of water pictures.
Okay,
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Abigail.
so
Thank you
very
much.
much.
Okay. We're going to take a very short break from students and switch over to staff just for a moment.
Go ahead.
And we'll wait for Betty. Yeah, get those kiddos and.
Yeah. You guys want to get a little closer? Perfect.
Hold up your plates up. Put it down.
There you
Go
go.
ahead.
Oh, you go ahead and take your picture, buddy. I don't want to interfere with that.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Everybody look at me. Eyes open. Thank you.
Thank you very
All right.
much.
Thanks, guys. Now you can sit down. guys. You're so good. So I have a staff we want to recognize, or a couple staff members tonight. The first one is Katie Mulligan. I know I saw her. Come on up, Katie. Unfortunately, I don't have anything to read for Katie, so I've just got to do this, from what I know.
Wing it.
Oh, it's good. I'm going to hang that before I forget. Katie Mulligan is probably the picture of what we experience here with all of our parapros. If Mossy Rock is a ship and the teachers are the sail, the parapros keep us afloat. They're the hull that keeps us above going. They do everything from teaching kids to lunchroom duty, to hall room duty, to anything else that just comes up. Katie is always working with somebody. She's outside, she's out front, she's making sure kids are met where they are, but have expectations. Thank you for what you do. Couldn't do it without you. That's what happens when I don't know how to script. I get emotional. So there we go. And then next is going to be, I got in a hurry. You're going to have to forgive me. Come up with this almost. Lynn Almost. Come on up. There's not enough hours in the day. And somebody asked me a question and I put somebody asked me what is
I don't even know.
So this almost, she's about to present, so I really don't want to steal her thunder. But she is a long-term teacher here with lots of great products, if you want to call kids products, we're not really calling them products. But that is the end product for education, is to produce kids starting way down here, going all the way through, who are productive, responsible citizens. And she's about to present her own highlight and do a better job than I can do with it. So I'm just going to turn it over to you. Thank you for all you do, for holding down that end of the campus, and keeping us balanced.
Do you want me to-
Did you send that?
Yeah, so
Okay.
so I can start with my seniors
Start
if you
with
want to find
now.
that,
Fine,
yeah.
I'll pull that out.
I apologize, guys. I've literally spent the first night at my new house last night, and I'm just a mess. I've been doing a lot of crazy things, but my kids have been doing great things. This is our last chance for these seniors to come in and talk to you before they graduate. So I wanted to talk about them and their project that we just, we started it last fall, late fall, and clear through the winter until the end of the semester. And then it went to publishing. So what we've got, if my kids will come up here, the seniors, to join me to share it. So this is kind of, it really is. He talks about it being the end result. These are what the seniors produced. We were part of something called the We Are America Project, and I've always, my goal is that our kids in a tiny little town in rural America have as big a voice and as much importance, and to be weigh their goals as heavily as we do anybody anywhere else, right? So this is a book that has their voices in it, stories that they created, autobiographical narratives that are whatever they wanted to write about, honestly, and they wrote with incredible impact. These are very moving stories. And so I don't know, I would like you guys to introduce yourselves and just like these little guys did, your favorite part of the project or something you want to share.
Okay, so I'm Vivian Bruce. I wrote a story about my grandparents, and I think probably my favorite part was I'm a pretty shy kid, so getting to read all of my other classmates' stories was kind of like, it wasn't bonding, but it was at the same time. So I think that was my favorite.
It was a lot of sharing, wasn't it?
My name is Shelby Dowell, and I wrote a story about my sister, and through doing that with the book, I got to learn more about her and the stories. My name is Chesney Schultz. I wrote my story about my cousin who recently passed away. I had a really good time doing this project. I think I learned a lot about myself, and not just about myself, but my classmates, which was probably one of my favorite parts. I got to learn a lot about their backstories because growing up happens so fast, you don't always remember everything that's going on. So hearing what all of my classmates got to experience and go through was super awesome.
Hi, my name's Jackson White. I wrote about my general experience in Mossy Rock, but my favorite part was probably when we were doing the pre-assignment to that, when we were just writing about like certain aspects in our daily life and laughing with Chesney about certain things that we found from our childhood.
There were a lot of fun things we did along the way to like build up to this project, thinking about what's important to you, important to your family, and everything was different. No kid wrote about the same thing, from broken bones to family members to just dealing with life as a teenager. It was really a fantastic experience for us all. Now, I guess we have to kind of like shamelessly promote it though, because we're selling them for $10, so the juniors who will be next year's seniors might get to do the same project. So if you are interested in reading those stories, they will be online at the We Are America project for free. But if you want to support us by having your very own copy, I'll be selling those, and on behalf of these guys here who did a fantastic job. They're all authors, and their voices are impressive. Oh yeah, you want to leave some up there that they can look at?
Thank you so very much. Thank you.
All right. Part 2. Oh, hey.
Shelby.
The book? Oh, you want to hold the book up, Jackson?
Shelby.
Lunch. Okay, you ready? You want to say much that you support the computer science kids? Yeah. Okay, so the next crew of mine that are going to come up here, and I'm going to get out of their way and let them do it because they're really good at presentations. Okay, they really are. So in my, this is the first year ever that Monster Rock has had a computer science class, and it's a requirement of the state. And I think that most of you know that I teach English and drama. But this year I started teaching computer science, mostly because I like computers, but really maybe that's not good enough. But these guys have really forced me to raise my game, and also I'm learning alongside them as they go. Last month, this team was on what we call the Innovators team, and they were doing their own independent project to figure some stuff out. And that's a lot of what we're doing. So I'm going to let them explain what computer science is all about, and then let them tell their story a little bit. Is that okay?
You start by introducing yourselves, please.
Okay, my name is Jackson. I'm a freshman. I was lucky to work with these two and one other person that didn't here.
I'm Adriana Hernandez.
I'm Xander Smith.
And those two are sophomores.
Yeah. We have the presents.
Okay, I was gonna say, computer science people, if I click this.
Hey, I wasn't sure if you guys are gonna do it or.
Well,
Okay,
I was waiting on you tech people to tell me what to do.
today we just want to go over what it is, what we've been doing, problems that we've had, lots of problems, and the community support that we've been getting. Yeah. Oh.
Okay, so what is computer science? So computer science is a lot of things, like working with coding and stuff like that. And programming can help students benefit in areas for expertise and stuff about computers. And computer science is an easy way for students to become interactive with technology, promotes creativity and critical thinking, and hands-on learning.
Isn't neat? So some of the projects we've been working on, since it's been kind of miscellaneous, we've done things like coding in Python, some projects like a pet water bowl, electric guitar, a smart mailbox, and we also helped in the color run that the little kids did. Talk about your water bowl project.
The pet water bowl project was mine that I did. It was like a smart pet bowl that texts when the water's low and sends you an email. So you refill it.
I need one of those.
So, well, I guess one of the more important ones we did was a smart mailbox. It's not working right now because we took the components out. But so we wanted to create a mailbox that would send you like a notification on your phone when a package had arrived. And we thought it was going to be really simple, really easy. And then we finished making the mailbox, and then we get to a point where like, oh, well, we're missing a component. So we had to go to Miss Almost and ask her to buy us a part so we could actually get like the notification, because so far we had got it so it would like beep, once a but a package had dropped in. So we waited a while on that, and in the end we didn't have enough time to finish our project there. Wait, the color run assistant.
So the color run assistant, we helped with the finish line thingy.
Is that the technical term? I don't even know what it's called.
RFID finish line. So it just detected when people finished the race, and it was pretty interesting. I still want to learn more about that.
So some hardships we had were blocked websites. Our school really they try very hard to make sure that we're not on things that we're not supposed to be.
What things we should be on?
That's sketchy to reliable.
Sketchy websites we turn to those to be like our main source of information and learning. It's probably not great, but it's basically what we turn to. Outdated material. There was lots of old programs that didn't run anymore. Either their websites were down or just completely gone, taken off.
Like everything we got from the ESD at the beginning of the year. Broken links to everything. It was ridiculous.
Units inaccessible, better pathways, just overall not working again. Just no way to get things.
Limited resources.
Oh, limited resources. We didn't really have we had to order parts. We had to constantly scrap things from computers that we got from our boneyard, from other computers from 2005. That was interesting. Just in generally just outdated materials that we don't have access to. That was a major problem.
I think with our inaccessibility though, it really pushed us to be more creative and how we could persevere without the things we really needed. And I mean, at the end, we just ended up creating our own things, and it pushes for individuality, what everybody's good at, and it creates room for that person to explore that pathway more.
So, community support. It's a brand new class this year, so we're still getting through some problems and stuff, but we have not very many resources to work on.
If you don't mind me interrupting, we need more support. Part of the reason why we're here is we're shamelessly asking for a little bit more of a curriculum. We need a little bit more spare parts to build things like our mailbox, his dishbowl or whatever it was. It's kind of cool. Just know we're here. Just promote us more. We need to just get out there. We're trying to get ourselves out here.
We'll take your old electronic happily, very happily.
And just more website accessibility. That would be awesome.
Yeah, and it's actually hard to get websites opened up in a timely manner for the kids to be able to use them. And so to speak to it's a CT class and there's CT funding, but it's really hard for CT funding to be spread thinly across all of the programs. And being new, we didn't have anything. Everything that we had at the beginning of the year was just donated by the ESD, and again, outdated. We do have robots, but they don't do a lot. So we've got stuff, but it's just not all working. And this year's budget's not going to get us much more either. And when I asked for something other than Chromebooks from our tech department, they just said there wasn't anything that we could have. But Dana did give us the Boneyard computers, which we've had some kids who spend all their time rebuilding and tearing apart things, and that's actually been quite fun. But that we're about out of that. We've about made our way through the recycle process there. And truly, if there are community members that have things they're not using anymore, that they, these kids are, we have a crew that are really good at repairing computers and swapping out parts. And we'd love to just do more of that. But on the other side of it, some kids sit and code all day. We give them the choice. They can just sit there and learn coding in different languages or whatever they want to do. They're really, once we get hit to second semester, everybody kind of chose their own path. And these guys are just the ones who like to do the crazier things.
Yeah. I think even with coding though, at the beginning, we were kind of stuck because it wouldn't let us access it, even though that's the curriculum we were given. So just like for a while, we had to just play around with the settings until one of us finally managed to get in. But
Yeah,
even then,
they hacked basically to get us into where we need to go.
Yeah.
This almost what period is this? So I need help, I can call them.
Second period.
Okay.
Yeah,
What kind of parts do you guys do? What kind of stuff do you guys really
Just
like?
anything really. I mean,
And anything that is related to computers in any way.
That's sort of electronic, really.
All right. Do you have anything else to add? Let's give everybody a big hand. Thank you so very much. So one of the things I'd like to say is that we're going to be doing more of this, recognizing student achievement and staff achievement and excellence in these different areas. I think it's important for all of us to make this connection between what we're trying to do, what the teachers are trying to do, and how we're all supposed to be working together to make sure we can facilitate this type of excellence in the students and in staff. I know as a board, I think we probably agree that we're interested in moving forward and doing whatever we can do to help support these different things. And so I think all of us will actually put out a call and see if we can start to collect more materials and more electronics and anything that we can do. And I ask the community to do the same thing. If there's any scrap electronics you have, any extra computers, any extra devices, let's collect them and let's get them to these kids so they can start working through these new projects and start developing these expertise that are marketable skills in our 21st century economy. So thank you very much, Ms. Olmos, very much.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry those computer kids escaped because we have trouble. No, this was a good time. If you need to go, I've got to reset the tech, but we'll continue the meeting in
Yes,
just one
we're going
second.
to have public comment real quickly. I'll get this way.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Yeah, deliver.
Just email.
Send me an email. I'll send you an email.
Ready? So we're back, ready and online, and do we have any public comments scheduled tonight, Joe?
I don't see anything written.
Okay, well, all right, then, again, does anybody have anything from the community or anybody else that would like to sign up for a quick public comment? No?
I just would like to thank you for coming into the classroom and making yourself, visible to the kiddos. I think you saw how quickly they got excited about
Yes.
having a board member, and not that they even knew what that meant, but even when they came in tonight, they were like, Mr. Townsend's here? Like they did not make a connection, but I think it's good for them to, I just think the more adults that they're seeing and
Sure.
people that they see cheering them on is very good. So thank you for making the time to come in and reading the story to them. And
It was a real pleasure, and thank you for the invitation. It was, again, sometimes I get myself, I can't speak to the board members, but I get disconnected from sometimes what we're actually trying to do. And, because we all have other obligations, and to come in here and to see that and to feel that energy and to appreciate the hard work that you teachers are doing, it's really, it brings me back to balance. And so thank you for that opportunity.
it's a good connecting experience, I think, not just for the kids, but for teachers and board members too, to just be able to connect and see that we're all on the same team and that we are, recognizing the hard work of each other. So
Right, I agree. Thanks again. And I encourage everyone to enjoy the same experience. Thank you very much. So we're moving along and we're moving into the consent agenda in our board meeting tonight. And so, first of all, we probably do a motion for accepting the consent agenda. And if there's anything that we need to look at specifically, then we can individualize that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda for this evening's meeting?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Sure.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The consent agenda is passed as is. Is there any individual items that we need to look at that anybody has any questions with at this point? Everything looks okay so far? Okay. We have a high school overnight trip out of state. I assume that's for the drama club? Is that correct, Mr. Superintendent?
Well, it's not documented. We do have a drama trip and there's also the state. So we already approved the one for Florida. didn't we?
Okay, yes.
Yeah, this was for
That should be
Ashland
the
and then
draw.
the West side.
Okay, so everything's copacetic there. Perfect. So we've approved those funds through our consent agenda. And we will move along unless there's any other questions from the board on the consent agenda.
No, there just wasn't anything attached on the elementary report.
Yes,
Yeah,
so,
Didn't get
You
it
don't
on
have
sure.
one?
I
okay,
do want to point out,
go ahead.
in the spirit of our celebration tonight,
Yes.
in the high school report, I wanted that first paragraph, junior high school has been recognized by the state recognition program for growth in ELL students during the 23-24 school year. One of 16% of schools statewide who received that recognition. Just wanted to point that out. I know you didn't see that, but that's worth mentioning. A shout out to the high school.
State testing, how's that going?
Over, thank goodness.
No, it's not.
No,
it's not.
There's no high school. It's not high school.
High school,
Huh.
elementary's going well, finished.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought y'all finished Friday.
No, math sciences.
Oh,
That's
Never mind.
This week, okay?
I'm sorry. On all levels. You guys have seen this?
Yes.
Any questions? Mine, not much in mind. Do you have any questions about more?
One thing I wanted to ask about the athletic director, we had some, maybe you can give us an update. I mentioned something to him about moving forward. We had a lot of interest in a soccer program last month, and I wanted to make sure that if there were any representatives here, that we had pushed that information forward to the athletic director and have him just start looking at putting work up together and what the requirements would be to actually have a viable process that might move forward. We're still working on that unless there's any updates, Mr. Superintendent, on that
And it's
specifically.
a work in progress for right now, unless there was someone who had a specific question.
Did we contact the person who brought that up meeting to let them know that that's what you did?
I had assumed because I got information that a representative would be here tonight, and I didn't see them tonight,
I don't
but
think they're here, so I think
Yeah.
somebody would want to reach
We need
out.
to
to
reach
them.
out to them.
so we'll reach out to them and let them know that we are indeed looking at it, and Mr. Taylor is trying to put an actionable list together of what are the requirements, what kind of funding we're gonna need, what kind of community involvement we're gonna need. So we are moving forward on that. The the unfortunate failure of the levy by a few votes complicates that just a little bit. However, we filed for another chance to do that in August, I believe it is.
Yes.
And so we will be out in the community myself specifically, trying to advocate for what's going on with those dollars and why they're so critically needed for infrastructure and programs here. So we're on it, and we're gonna do. When you lose by 2 votes plus 1, we're close. We're real close, and so we have to do a better job of selling it to the community. And it's a tough sell right now because of all the new taxes that have come down out of Olympia and at the county level. But again, this is a replacement levy, and so we will be doing our best to try to get this one up over the top one last time. So we'll go from there. Is there anything else that the board would like to add in those areas?
I would just be careful how we say moving forward with supper. Moving forward with explaining what's needed
Exactly.
in order to have it, not moving forward as
You know,
if we're having it.
and so let me reiterate that.
Just making
We've
sure.
pushed it to the athletic director to give us an actionable list,
Because we-
what would be required.
I don't know that we did an actionable list last time, but the last year when it was brought, I don't know if it was last year. Mark, was it when you were
It
here?
was last year.
And it was similar, they were told things that had to
Right.
be done, maybe probably not in the detail that they need in front of them, but just so.
I have requested personally from the athletic director that we move forward in envisioning what that's going to look like. And so once we have that document,
We can share it.
then we can share it, and then we can start taking some ownership of follow-up. And I'd be happy to do that, to make sure that we can move this process forward as we can in our individual roles, and then come to some conclusions sometime in the near future about the viability of it moving forward. So is there any other questions or any other comments about that? Shad, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would just say it's also, I think, important to recognize there are a number of people in this room and others who are not in this room who put a lot of effort and time into the prior levy. And I think it's just important to be thankful for that effort. I think they laid a very good foundation for moving forward. And so I think that both here and not here, they're much appreciated.
I think you're absolutely correct. And the fact that we're so close in such a tough circumstance, it really illustrates and illuminates the hard work that the levy committee has done for people that are here and that are not here.
In fact, if I might, let's have those members stand that were part of that. I know there were 3 or 4 or 5.
Sure, let us recognize them for their hard work. Thank you so very much. And we're close. And the reason we're close is because of the work that you folks did. So we'll keep fighting for it.
There's a lot of work.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Mr. Superintendent?
So, my report, as you see, the FTE count, we're at 621, total enrollment. We did get our yearly, look out, your insurance is going to go up. But this year it says not to exceed 12%. Just for your information, as I told you last year when this came up, I am still going to look into the other option. We only have 2 options.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about our umbrella insurance that's
Oh.
required. And there's only 2 agencies that we can even purchase that from. And let's see, it went up 40% last year or year before, and 25% last year. And then now it's going to go up to 12. And we've never made a claim, or at least not in a long time, and not for much, because it drives your rates up. If you just want to help me with remember this number, I think we're somewhere around $230,000 for our insurance yearly.
When would it be effective? January 1?
It actually goes in August, I believe. Am I right?
Wait, in August.
Yeah.
Is there some understanding as to why we're getting these increases without claims being filed?
Because it's the insurance, and they just kind of do what they want to do. It's very, in my opinion,
This is a
unregulated.
risk pool, correct?
It's a risk pool, yes.
So my question is, are other organizations in this risk pool's claims driving up our total insurance, even though we haven't had any claims? Is that a possibility?
That is a possibility. They categorize you in 4 different categories. And one is you can go up like a 4%, and the next one is from 5 to 12, which is where we are. And then there's another bracket and another. It is 4, right, Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, and it's, a lot of it's based on enrollment numbers.
Yeah.
It's categorized by your FTE.
Yeah, and yeah.
Okay.
So it's one of those things where it feels like highway robbery because it's required. We can't not have
Right.
it. by the state, but then there's only 2 that offer it, and they kind of have you over a barrel.
There's another factor that relates to that. That is, 4 years ago-ish, the legislature changed the statute of limitations on civil claims. And so that is what's happening both for the risk pools for the schools as well as county risk pools, is that now, if you look at social media, you'll see all these ads for, in the last 40 years, did something happen to you in a school district or in a county facility? And so because of the lifting of the statute of limitations on it, you have a number of claims coming back from 30 plus years ago for all these risk pools that are almost indefensible, resulting in large settlements, which is also impacting fee rates for all the risk pools.
Right. So kind of like a perfect storm of situations coming together, and here we are. Right. Understand. Well, definitely like to get some more information on that, what's driving this, maybe some historical trends, and just so if we have questions, we might be able to get some answers as opposed to speculation.
In addition, our bond council is going to be changing. You guys will have to decide on who you would like to go with. Just the very day that we refiled the levy for August, our bond council informed us. She sent me the resolution that you guys passed. The same day, later the day, she sent a letter informing that that company was no longer going to be doing that work. I can't remember the details of whether or not they were going out of business. I don't think she's even retiring, but in either case, we have to seek a new bond council prior to any other elections we might be running for bonds. We did get one email from a Pacifico. I can share that with you, soliciting our business, but I'm sure you guys will take a deeper look at it before we plunge into it. We're still planning for next year. Levy's been refiled. We talked about that. The work's still in progress with our emergency operations plan, but that is narrowing down. We hope to have that moved by the end of the month. Any questions about my report?
Security system operational?
Security system is operational. Our fiber is in, which was keeping it from being at full capacity. It was working, but not to the full element that it's designed. We are adding an automation to it to make it talk a little more clearly with our systems that put things in. So there's some more fine tuning that's going on, but it is operational. Yes,
Thank you.
we hope to deploy it fully come for the fall. That's but it is out there. Okay. So I don't know if you want to have this discussion before we vote on the calendar.
All business.
You need to,
Do we need to make a decision on that tonight?
which one?
The calendar, old business.
By policy, you have to by the June meeting, and it would help a lot of people to get it done. So I don't know if you want to move it until after.
We have to do both of these pieces together or individually.
I would say individually, but you might want to have old business move down to after the discussion.
Let's do that.
We need a
So
motion.
we need a motion to move the old business down to after discussion.
I make a motion to move old business until after discussion about the calendar.
Do I have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. It's approved.
Okay.
So we're now a resolution for new business. Resolution for cancellation of warrant. And we only have one tonight, is that correct? $250? Okay. Any questions, discussions? Do I have a motion to approve the cancellation of warrant for $250 to R and Long High School?
I make a motion to cancel the warrant.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. The resolution for cancellation of warrant has been approved. And we have a resolution 24-25-13, declaration of surplus yearbooks. And And this is $2,650.
What do we do with these?
Well, once you surplus them, then they have to go out, be available to any other public schools. Then they are available to be, we can sell them or do whatever we want to with them at that point. So,
These are from Mossy Rock, correct? From those time frames?
yes.
Can I ask a question? Have we tried to sell these like at the all-school reunions, having them out and available for purchase during the summer at the all-school reunions?
I will have to ask Ms. Hadler about that. I don't know that she, yeah, I don't know that she's done.
Just a thought, because I think we have one coming up and,
Right.
you know.
But she
Right.
definitely could sell them once they're surplus. too.
Sure, we'd like to know if we need to surplus them to make them available too. Or if that's an internal decision.
This is it, if she sold them internally, do they have to be surplus? If they sell them, do you know?
No, because she can sell
She
them
sells them
now.
all
If
the
you walked
time.
in right now and bought one, you could,
But
so
she'd sell
if she
it, yeah.
chose to take these.
So this is just,
Right?
And so you said there's something coming up here in the next
There's an
month or
all-school
two.
reunion coming up this.
July
July
26th.
July 26th.
I've been on the committee for that, or been sitting in on it,
Right.
so I can communicate that if you want.
I would suggest, given that fact that we have an event coming up and some people might want these, that we table this discussion and table this vote. Do I have a motion to table this discussion and vote cancellation of this warrant?
Yeah, motion to, what did you say?
Table.
Table it, so
Table.
after we ask if we can use this at all school reunion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We have tabled resolution 242513, declaration of surplus yearbooks.
But you can ask the committee if they might be interested in having them available so that we can
All
sell
right,
them.
I'll get back to Mark on that.
thank you, buddy.
So next item is the after-school program discussion. Has everybody had a chance to look at the calendar at this point? Okay.
Yes, but what's the?
So the discussion was that was a 1:30 release every Wednesday.
Yeah.
And we wanted to put it out to the community to be sure that we wouldn't have kiddos going home unsupervised.
So you guys did you did that
Survey.
survey,
This
what were the
survey here
results
is,
of
I'm
the?
pulling it up, right?
Hold it up.
So there's 2 years. It's for 2 years. For this one. Oh, no, you're not gonna have. Yeah, we're going to do 1 year contracts.
Come on.
I'm not sure.
Is there anybody from the calendar committee here? No?
I think Heather Davis and Jody Pitts run the
And
calendar.
Casey. So we have 145 responses to this survey. And it was only 3 questions, and one was how will a weekly 1:30 early release on Wednesday affect your family schedule? 57.6% or 83 said it would be easy to accommodate. 23% it would be somewhat of a challenge, and 17 plus about 18% said it would be difficult to accommodate. And question 2 was if the school offered an after-school program on Wednesdays from 1:30 to the usual dismissal time, would you be interested in using it? And it was a interesting almost third split. 34% said yes every week. 37% said yes, but only occasionally. And then 27, almost 28% said no. So I think the magic in that survey would be whether that 28% was part of the previous questions, 50-something% that would be like not a problem. You know, there was a third question, but it's more of programmatically like what would you want to see? And it's overwhelming a combination of academic and physical and STEM enrichment kind of thing.
Further discussion?
Could somebody please just give me the rundown here? Because I saw this on the agenda when I was going through it, but there were no materials attached. I saw the calendar as a separate thing, but what are we discussing here?
The calendar proposes a 1:30 early dismissal on Wednesdays for professional learning communities.
So it's basically just to say yes to that or no to that, because there's only one calendar here.
Correct. I mean, really, it's a matter of the 1:30 or not the 1:30, and if you do the 1:30, do you want to try to provide some kind of after-school support for those kiddos that are?
But the reason I got something to here from the calendar committee on doing a 2-year thing, like if something doesn't work, are we not gonna change it because we agreed to a 2-year one? Like what was, what's the reasoning behind the 2-year calendar versus 1 year? Because typically,
Well, I think some places, I think we're just kind of following a trend of some places have a 2 and sometimes a 3-year calendar, for just advanced
well, I mean, on
planning.
something that we're doing new, like if we're gonna go to the 1:30 and we're not 100% sure, or, I mean, if there's indecisiveness, why would we want to walk in for 2 years and not adjust?
Well,
if-
obviously,
if-
you
if-
don't have to do them both.
I was just
Yeah, you
curious
wouldn't have to
why.
do both. Again, it's just,
I don't know what the-
that advanced planning and having it done, because it's a lot of work to give people time to get it laid out. So, but you, of course, have the ability, if you're gonna want to get approved that
Well, I just
26.
wondered what the thought process was behind it.
Just trying to be proactive and getting ahead.
So, I tend to agree with that. If we're starting up a new program with, not vast majority of buy-in, we should probably look at the first year and then adjust as needed moving forward. And so I assume that we can split this vote between the first year calendar and then adjust as we move forward into the second year by giving them enough time to implement that, because most of the planning's already been done. If it's a success, then we can move forward. If it needs some adjustments, then we can make those adjustments. Does that work?
I don't see any reason why you couldn't take the 2 apart and approve one and not the other. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
So the question is the kiddos that don't have parental support at that 1:30 to 3 o'clock block, have we done any planning on that?
No, because this is a new time frame, a new change in previous year before last. I can't speak to way on that. Maybe somebody's been here for a while. Scott, could you speak to what has happened? I know last year there was a 2:30 dismissal.
Yeah, we never had, when we did have after school program, it was really probably the last couple of months of school we would get it going. And then we'd do it after school, like a few days a week. But for the 2:30 dismissals, we never, since I've been here, we have not done after school program for those kiddos.
So the year before the 2:30 dismissal, how long had it been a 2:30 dismissal? Because I don't know this.
I don't know, this is only my 4th year here.
We only did that like 1 or
2 years.
We've moved it around a lot.
Yeah, because the PLCs weren't always a thing.
No,
Lisa,
our PLCs used to be after school from.
yeah, it wasn't at the end
4:30.
of, when Lisa
And
was
then-
here, Jody, that we started getting,
Yes.
I mean, it was
yeah.
more
The PLCs
deliberate
used to
on the.
be after school from 3 to 4:30, but it ran into some issues with pay, because if you keep people past the contracted
Yeah.
time, it caused an issue for pay. And so then the district chose to move it into the school contracted hours so that it wasn't an issue of pay. And that's so initially they moved it back to the 2:30.
And I think that was also following trends.
Yeah, it was following trends.
Other
you're right.
schools were doing that.
Mhm. And then we went for a while where it was like early releases on a Wednesday, and then we went to late starts, but
on a
late starts
Monday.
were more of an issue for parents than early releases, and so it's kind of gone back and forth. I think the district has tried it almost every which way, trying to find something that works. We're always gonna run into childcare issues because there is no childcare in Lewis County, really. especially out in the East End. So
And then separate from that, we used to have a very robust after-school program, but that's a whole separate thing, and that was way back in the day. Or
That
not
was
way
very
back, but
successful.
yeah, it
Yeah,
was,
I've heard
it
great
was,
things about it too.
it was amazing in its time.
And I've reached out to some of the staff about starting a committee for an after-school program. There's some grants that are available that we've identified, some funding through OSPI. So we would like to sit down and take a look at the budget and see if it's something that we can do for next year to start on Wednesdays, see how successful it is. If it is, we have a lot of interest, then perhaps we can move it to, 2 or 3, 4 days a week.
So let's get back to mechanics of it. If we move forward with this next calendar year, which would be the 25-26 calendar year, do we understand that we're going to need some resources in order to provide for those kids that aren't available, their parents aren't available to pick them up? And so what are we going to do with those kids? Do we have para support, or can we put them in study hall, or is there going to be some gym time, or how are we going to accommodate those kids?
Well, that is the question as is being discussed. We made a shift this year to the late start because of all the unsupervised children last year. When we got out at 2:30, there were kids all over the campus, no supervision, and so I personally pushed for the late start so that we could eliminate that, because I didn't like kids running around campus without any supervision. There was no plan, so that was I pushed on the let's do a late start instead. But I guess we've come around full circle. The general consensus is that people prefer the early dismissal to the late start. But this having just passed staff vote not long ago, this
So
is where
staff
we are.
prefers the 2:30 release.
The
versus
Early release as opposed to
1:30.
1:30.
I don't think staff had a choice. I think staff just were
Early
said
release is what
early
they,
release or
early release as opposed to late start.
But 1:30.
1:30 can be played with one way or the other.
Well, I was just thinking, like, one of the complaints being, when you're, so not obviously for elementary, but junior high through high school sports season, so September through the end of the year, what they do from 1:30 until when practice starts at 3 or 3:30. You go to your contracted time if your teacher's a coach, which a lot, if they are, they're not, like, what those students do from that time frame. And the school doesn't like them leaving and coming back or whatever. So
And
they talk about that.
The committee, I'm not that, if they talked about that, they didn't do it extensively, and they didn't provide me necessarily any feedback, if that's what you're asking.
Well,
On
there's a lot of
that piece.
athletes that, like, if you're younger ones, they can't drive.
Correct.
So
Then you have you run the risk of having them unattended on campus
yeah, so from 1:30
or
to
wandering town.
3, chunk of time.
So that seems to be the missing piece of this puzzle.
That is the missing piece, is what do you do with that time?
And it doesn't sound like we've had any planning taking place to frame some issues about some accommodations, whether it be a study hall, athletics, gym time.
Please no.
Mhm.
Was the 1:30 time, just a question, was the 1:30 time in order to decrease the number of days that they were let out early?
Well, is it that's what I was confused.
That's what
If
I
we do
wondered, too.
1:30, we don't have to do it. It's not, is it every Wednesday at 1:30? Because that's a lot, right? That would
It's
add up.
that's the way it's proposed.
That seems like that would be a lot because in the past,
It's not for what we need to do.
no, not for what you need. That's not what I meant. Not for what,
So point of clarification, the 1:30 time has not been decided on.
The 1:30 time was what's been proposed, but the 1:30 time is a softer piece. That can be worked with more easily than the other pieces of the calendar, but yeah.
And the second point would be it's in swap for the late starts on Monday. So it's not adding an additional time, it's
Correct.
swapping.
but we're not a late start every Monday. We're only a late start
It's one Monday a month.
Once a
and
month,
this is
but a lot of the
1:30 release
feedback
every.
from that was that was not enough adequate time. That's what we've heard all year.
So what do our teachers in the room say
I
Ms.
think
Stock?
we need,
Ms. Cuddy?
no, you go for it. I'm a big advocate for PLCs. And as you mentioned before, and we are seeing as our scores are trickling in right now, we need professional development here. I've come from a bigger district and we've had early releases once a week, and I recommend that you speak to some bigger districts and what they do for their kids on those early release days. I think it's better for the kids to leave early than come later because they're more productive in the morning. And I think all teachers will agree with that. That's here. But
Well,
we
it's
just
very
need
hard
that.
on them when they don't get breakfast. Because a lot of them get breakfast here.
Yeah.
It's very dependent upon.
True.
And so they come and they haven't eaten, and then they're here for an extra hour before, or half an hour before they can go to lunch.
But I'm a big advocate of the professional development. I think with a lot of new curriculum that's been introduced this year and upcoming years with science and social studies needs, that we don't have time to learn these new things or to even collaborate with our other teachers. We definitely don't have time to do any cross-grade curricular activities with other teachers. Like I can't meet with her because she's on a different planning time where I want to meet with her every year going, what are these kids doing that are in 5th grade coming up? What can I do for you going on into the middle school and stuff? We just don't have time.
And my understanding is that when we had the 2:30 early release,
That was
there was not enough time to.
That was literally, it was just information fed to us for 30, 40 minutes. And it was nothing learning. There was,
with each other.
there wasn't looking at student data. And that's what's a big missing piece in this district is looking at that data. What are we doing with that data? Where are we going? If the kids know it, what are we going to do next? If they don't know it, what do we need to do? We need planning time for that. You know, we have so many kids just looking, and I'm a data freak, looking at the data coming in from the Smarter Balance from ELA testing right now. We have 70% that are failing right now. Right now, when I looked after school, 70% 3rd through 6th graders are failing right now. So that's my passion of we need more time to develop things for our kids. So academically, they're stronger. I hear a lot of sports this and sports that and picking up sports and sports and sports. And I'm like, oh, I love sports. I do. But like academics is why the kids are here, you know? So
They're
we
student
need that time.
athletes, students first.
Yes. Student athletes.
I'd like to add to, just from my perspective, I don't know if other teachers can agree or disagree with this, but the current schedule of us just doing the one day a month, I feel like anyhow, it just has become a staff meeting. We come in and because we don't really have time to ever meet, it's like a, nuts and bolts. And then, oh, it's time to go. And so we really haven't had an opportunity to sit down and look at the data. And Denise brought it up at the last meeting and she's not wrong. She said, we have to look at the data and Cuddy, Shannon is right. We have to look at the data and we have to look at it across grade levels so that we can say, okay, they're coming into 3rd grade with these gaps. And then that's where our primary teachers can look at that and say, okay, what can we do to fill those gaps? But we don't have time to look at that data and discuss it. And we're very critical of ourselves. We're looking to always see what we can do better as well. But there isn't a lot of opportunity to do that and to do it well. So I do think it is important that we have that time.
So the time I think is critical, so just so we're clear, I don't
It is.
in any way think that sports is more important than academics. Just wondering if the committee took into consideration all the factors that they didn't like when we had that situation before and how it was going to be addressed. Because one of the other things that the teachers aren't here that we've heard, and we don't want that much time for PLC. So maybe you haven't been told that and we don't like that because it's went both ways. It hasn't always been, we like that time and we want to do that. Not everybody, maybe they're not honest, says that. So there have been discussions on there's reasons why we've gotten to new things every year.
Yeah, well, and maybe things haven't been developed. I've only been here 2 years now, so maybe things haven't planned out or developed where it's beneficial to the people that are going to a PLC. Maybe people need to be trained in what a PLC actually is. Because if they were, and they were trained well, then they would, it is all data driven and motivated. And I've been to some trainings where people are like, I wish I could do so many more things in this, but the planning pieces I think is really critical too.
I know that Miss Pitts and Miss Davis, they both had been to training years ago because they frequently brought it up in the 10 years I've been here. And I would probably say I've watched the PLCs go downhill for probably the last 6 years, 5-6 years, not having leadership that's prepared to produce PLCs that are helpful. And maybe some teachers don't appreciate going to them, but it's part of our job to always have professional development where we're supposed to have so many clock hours every so many years. I think 100 clock hours in 7 years or something like that when we recertified. And now they've added STEM and equity. And there's another one in there, I can't remember, trauma or something. We've had book clubs in the past that have been very helpful. So that was one way, and to be able to have discussion. That was after school that some of us chose to stay later and discuss things, but you could leave at a certain time. They were well planned out when I was first here. I thought I learned quite a bit. We had like GLAD, ways of, having posters around the room to help the children, anchor charts. I just think the leadership maybe has not been as well trained in what teachers need to be learning now. And as for our school being a Title I, I've spoke with Ms. Johnson about an after-school program. I don't think it should just be for Wednesday. I think it should be Tuesday through Thursday, and not so much as a babysitting service, but we are low on our scores. And as a Title I school, some of our funding should be going to, implementing some kind of some extra instruction. And it shouldn't always be, do you want your child to go, but they should be asked to stay and attend, even beyond like 3 to 5.
I would say, Jody, when was 6 years? When was Lisa here? When was she last? How many years ago was that?
In 19.
So, yeah, that's when I would say that's spot on what the PLCs went through.
And then we had a revolving door.
Since then.
Yes.
And we have.
Yes. We've had no consistency since then.
Right.
And I see our school as a place where some of our principals come in to get their experience. I might have said this, I've said it to so many people, that they get their experience here for 2 years and they move on.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I call like a cedar school, seeding the next spot to get your, to use your experience to get a better paying job or more.
Get your feet wet.
Right. So, I just, when Lisa Grant was here, they used to come through superintendent principals, and I know some teachers didn't like that. That's probably the last time I've seen principals and superintendents frequent my room every couple months.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there might have been a board member in there as well. And they would have little clipboards, and I would just tell them, when you come in my room, we're not going to pay attention to you because we have things to get done. And they said, yeah, we don't want you. But I never did hear the outcome of what they were writing down on their little boards. I wish, think.
Some of that was the accreditation thing.
Yeah. What they did it quite a bit though.
It was a whole year. Was it in a whole year?
Yeah, but it wasn't like every month. It was like every maybe 12 weeks or so, they would show up and there would be scribbling things on the board. And so as a teacher, to feel valued, I should have been included on that in a meeting of what was taking place. What did they see? What could they tell me? I spoke to Mark about when we get our evaluations, what's done with our evaluations? Where do they go? Who sees them? How does it help me? Because I don't think they're going anywhere. I just don't.
You don't see them?
I see them. I see them. He doesn't see them. The principal sees them because he gives it to me. How qualified are they to be evaluating me? If we're going to be evaluated, to me, I want to be evaluated. I want feedback, reflection.
I want to just piggyback on one other thing that Shannon said because I think it's super important. I know that not all teachers want PLCs, but if you look at our scores, we need PLCs. So I think at this point, it really isn't about necessarily what we want, but it's about what our kids need. And the PLCs, regardless of when that occurs or how much time, I do think that we have to be really diligent about carving out time for PLCs and for good PLCs, for what they should look like. Some of us have seen them and been a part of them, and they've been missing for a while, but
Which is great, but until you have the right leadership,
right,
it won't
yeah, you're right.
happen and it
And
won't be
we
effective.
know what they look like though, and I do think that, whether we want them or not, I mean, do I want to spend extra time here? That maybe not necessarily, but that is what our kids need. And so, just a thought on that.
Can I add from a financial standpoint, we have at least 2 grants with significant dollars in them for PD that are sitting on the table.
You're her new best friend.
But it takes leadership and planning to make these happen.
And I know the teachers we have a ongoing Google document that is adding things, PD, that we'll share, that shows the ideas we have that we feel would be helpful.
Our PLCs, forgive me, I don't know how that works for you, but are they chosen individually by the teacher, or are all the teachers doing the same PLC at the same time, and who chooses them?
Typically, our principal and our admin drive the PLCs. The teachers say, hey, here are some areas where we feel like we have a need for instruction or a need for professional development. Usually kind of at the end of the year, we're gathering ideas, whatever, we put it forth to our admin, and then they move forward from there. It used to be that we had a leadership team, which I know we do now, but in the past, the leadership team is the one that took in that information and then decided on and chose professional development opportunities that then we put back out into and plan for within the next calendar year. It hasn't been done that way for about 6 years since Lisa left. Lisa was very good about bringing in a team and had teachers from every level.
It was very intentional.
Yeah, very intentional about that. And so I do think that that would be super helpful. I think there are a lot of things, we have a lot of new staff, you know, we need to just be more cohesive, and I think that is.
Well, and I know when I was going to school, I was quite a bit older when I decided to do this, and at that time, the voters had spoke that they wanted highly endorsed teachers because teachers weren't doing their job, is what they said. That's when a lot of evaluations came in and such. So when I had to, in my coursework, I had to put on endorsements. I had to kind of rate out, or being a reading specialist, I put on SPED, and with my general education. And then that was dropped off about 3 years later when they couldn't get teachers. Now it's an online program and they do a few practicums and they come in with a general education certificate, no endorsement, not highly qualified. That's the change because we're hurting for teachers.
So, bringing this conversation full circle here, let me paraphrase what I'm hearing from you to make sure that I'm clear about what you're saying. Is that we have the need, the test scores reflect the need, the teachers have the desire and are willing to look at a weekly, because that's the amount of time that you need pretty much at a minimum, and that you're willing to provide feedback to make sure that your time is not wasted and that the organized professional development is actually targeted based on data that's germane and generic to what's going on in this school. So you're actually doing what you're using your time to create corrective mechanisms for the kids at this school based on their test scores. And the amount of time that you need is once a week.
Yes.
Okay, is that accurate?
I think so.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
So.
And what was your name? I'm sorry.
I'm Trista Cornier. The district has approximately 15 parapros that don't necessarily participate in professional development. Sometimes we have our own things to do, but it's not as important for us. So that is about 15 people in your district that can supervise K through 12 after school. They can keep them in their grade levels or group them up depending on how many there are. Traditionally, they've given them a snack like after school program was very successful. Rebecca Burks ran that for a very long time. And she had, I think, K through 6, or maybe it was only 1st through 6, but the older kids would help the little kids with their homework. She was there to help them, and we had better test scores because they were getting it done. There was somebody there to help them. So when it comes to this 130 out, 230 out, whatever, there is significant coverage. That should not be a problem to assign any one of those 15 parapros to be here and like, you've got this group, you've got that group. I'm just saying I will not take them in the gym.
Well, I would prefer that they did academic improvement rather than shooting the basketball. I mean, if we're going to spend the time, then we should be focusing the time on what the resolution of the problem is. So again, it sounds like we have a need, there's a desire, there's things that we can do. We've got a labor pool that we can look at. So what we need is some organization on the mechanics of actually doing it. What is that going to look like?
And I'm just going to say, bring that back to full circle and discussion from Teresa's asking to have this discussion and where you were last month with tabling whether or not you pass the calendar. The calendar's got to be passed at some point. So I would say, my recommendation is that you go ahead and pass the calendar. You might want to have more discussion about whether or not you want the 1:30 time or if you want to shift that one way or the other. I don't know, but I would think that the time is needed given our test scores. The last school turnaround that I've conducted as a principal, we got out at half a day every Monday, and we planned and we looked at data and turned the school around in a year. And that was where we had a little more time than what this particular district and calendar offers. In addition to that, we had an extra day. So I think the point is the 1:30 going to be acceptable, or do you not like that? And if so, what is your recommendation? And then moving forward, we'll have to figure out how we're going to accommodate those issues we've been talking about with supervision.
Additional discussion? So are we all leaning towards the 1:30 with para coverage and plan programs to overlap those kiddos whose parents can't come in? So it sounds like we have a pretty good understanding of what we want to do, how we want to do it, the time frame, and we have a labor pool. So that's the last piece that we need to organize. Are you guys hearing the same? Are the rest of the board members hearing the same thing?
I mean, I think to give the teachers that time, the dismissing at 1:30 every Wednesday, have the time to have that PLC to overcome the challenges that we have with our test scores, and to have the teachers be able to look at the data. I think that we need to go forward with that. And if we have the parapros who can facilitate these groups and have some sort of enrichment activity, then I think that we should go forward with it.
Question, sir?
Well, I just say that I recognize it sounds like really there's a two-part question. There's the 1:30 and then whether or not you look at the after-school program. I would abstain from any vote right now simply because one of the priorities that I will place in this role is really having the opportunity to listen to folks, to listen to the teachers, to listen to the community. And being as that I've been a board member for about an hour, I've not had the opportunity to do that.
Sure.
But I will not vote on some. I would have to abstain just because I can't vote on something until I've had the full opportunity to hear from our teachers and the folks that are the leverage to accomplish these goals around scores and everything else. And so I would just abstain at this point in time. But my only other conversation point would be on the second point. There are amazing resources. The After School Alliance, National Alliance has a ton of research around the benefits of after school programs. There's approximately 2 or 3 dozen different studies on what you can do both for kids' academic progress, their school attendance progress, their mental health, and there's another section of these meta-analyses that have determined that's all laid out by the After School Alliance. I think that if it's going to be done, it's something that should be done right and not. And while I certainly had a very limited understanding of everything, I agree with the idea of perhaps parapros could do it. I think that it could be an opportunity for a win-win just from what I'm hearing here. there could be a huge win-win here for both our teachers that need to be supported as well as the students that are, what was the percentage that are failing right now?
In third through sixth.
Which matches what I was doing research on before coming in here today. There's a solution there, and the solution is, I do agree 100% with the idea of, well, then we need to invest in the teachers because they're the ones who make the difference. But we also, with that time, need to find a way to not increase risk of kids, which unsupervised kids run around the community.
Sure.
Believe me, I know a thing or two about this from my job. I don't need a higher caseload of work.
Right.
And that's where you get it from, is unstructured time and things like that. So that would be my pieces.
Additional comments, concerns? So again, I think we're talking about two pieces, the after-school program and the professional development piece. And I'm hesitant, so this is just discussion. I'm hesitant to approve a 2-year block when we're doing something new. But I do and have articulated the need for improved test scores. Believe me, I got the feedback on that one. But the other piece of that is to provide the mechanism that's required, right? And if we're going to be a partnership and we're going to build the most effective learning community that we can, then we have to be willing to take these chances and be willing to leverage labor pool in order to do that. So I would offer a vote, and we can modify that to approve the 2025-26 school year calendar, table the approval on the second piece of it, which is 26-27, subject to potential modification and assessment moving forward, and that we could task the superintendent with getting the mechanism in place in order to provide that coverage for that 1:30 to 3 o'clock once a week.
Yeah, and a detailed plan on effective PLCs, where the teachers don't feel like their time's being wasted. For those that want to, there's always ones that want to learn and get better, but the better, the more well done, the better off that they're planned and done correctly, the more effective they'll be. So until we have a leader who can carry that out, so I want to see that, a detailed plan on how we're going to conduct effective PLCs.
So that brings us to the next question, because we need to make a decision on moving this first block forward.
Yeah, we can still do that, but those are just the pieces on the side. No different than having to figure out. It's not different than like what Trista was saying when we had pairs before, but at some point it turned into a run amok around here. I don't remember the details of it. I just can remember noise about it. So at some point somebody quit holding somebody accountable to doing something.
Right.
So
Being
whatever
productive.
whatever it is that whatever the plans are, there's a plan and it's carried out.
So those are the two pieces that we're concerned about. It is the structure for those kids in that program covered by parapros, and having a structured program that's accountable. First piece. Second piece is to make sure that the professional development is well structured, and then it's targeted to be effective for the localized problem that we have. Correct? Okay, so is there any other discussion on moving this first piece forward? Do I have a motion to, Superintendent, do you have anything to weigh in?
No, I think I've already said, I do believe that the PLC is the way to get the test scores up. I think the soft piece is that 1:30. It doesn't have to be 1:30, but 2:30 is a waste of time. I've watched it over and over and over last year. It's a waste of time. So if you don't go at least 2 o'clock, you might as well just keep them all day, because you're not getting anything out of it. So I feel good with the 1:30. I know it seems like a lot. It's
No, it's not a lot. I'm not saying it's too much on PLC time.
Yeah.
I did not say that. I don't think it's too much for time that teachers need to evaluate stuff. I do not think that.
Okay. That's what I thought you.
But it needs to be
No.
well organized.
There has to be a plan.
More than
There
reasonable.
has to be a plan. It cannot be a waste of time.
Any other discussion? So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the 25-26 calendar. starting at 1:30 to 3 once a week,
Shows every Wednesday. Shows every Wednesday.
Yeah.
once a week.
Every Wednesday.
Correct.
Every week.
With the understanding that the superintendent will get these other mechanisms in place for covering the kids, utilizing the parapros as the labor pool, having a structure for those kids so they're not running amok.
Transportation.
So if they're still going to be on campus, transportation doesn't leave till 3, correct?
Right, on that day, it's gonna leave at 1:30.
Be 2 runs.
So it'll be 2 runs.
Be 1:30.
So there's another piece there.
Yeah.
And so if okay, so we need to understand how many of those kids are requiring transportation as well, and if we can outreach to their parents to come and get them.
I would venture and guess and say a significant amount of kids that would use that don't have parents that would answer the survey. I'm just throwing that out there.
That would be what, the ones that are used in the county would be the.
And I would say a significant amount of kids, yeah. That
So the survey
participate
may
will
be
also need
misleading
transportation.
because it may be more needed than it implies.
Well, even by the sheer number of responses versus the number in the district is.
Right, it's pretty small.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to table the discussion until that piece is resolved. But I also would defer to the board if it had faith that we could resolve those issues moving forward.
Which piece are you?
The programs for both the kids, including transportation, and the specific structure of the professional development program, so they're worthy of these teachers' time. So seems like there's 3 issues there. And we don't have the answers to those yet. What is the deadline that we need to make this decision?
Well, by policy, you're supposed to approve the calendar by the June meeting.
So in the June meeting or before the June meeting? So can you approve it in
Well,
June?
by June, so I infer that policy says by the June, so.
So this would be our
Would
last
be
chance,
your
unless we
board.
held a special meeting at the end of May, which we're not gonna have all this together.
I interpret that as being in the
Oh, in
June
the-
meeting.
In the June meeting.
Because,
But we're still not gonna have all that figured out by the June, in 1 month.
Well, we should be a lot closer than we are now.
Okay.
Well, if we can organize a meeting of the committee, for the after-school program, and we can do a piece of that and talk to Jody, I think we can get a lot closer, by having a lot of people working in the same direction.
Do we have a principal yet? So we're not gonna have that part, because that's who's gonna be in charge of that, so that's a huge part of it. We're not gonna have to be anywhere close. Well, on that.
So you have to make sure we hire well.
So there's 4 pieces there.
Well, that's just a key part to one of the pieces we already gave him.
Right.
Because that's who's gonna be giving it to Mark, that's gonna be giving it to us, I would assume, because if that's who's conducting it, I'm assuming.
Well, and then we have the leadership committee, if the leadership committee had any discussions about PLCs for
Yes.
the next year and planning those.
Another thing just to throw in there is, I don't know if schools ever considered this, but honestly, having a professional team come in that evaluates our instruction, then sets up the PLCs, is done by a lot of schools that are failing. Having an outside source come in, and I'm sorry. but it
No,
is-
that's fine, and we're interested in hearing all possibilities, but I think we're kind of short timing it at this point to try to move this process forward with some commitment from the board. And so, do the teachers have anything else that they want to add to this discussion? Because
I know,
it's-
you guys bring up a lot of great points. I understand the transportation part of it, but I go back to what's best for kids. Most the kids that we can capture will get rides home or be transported at 1:30, with a smaller amount of kids that may need transportation. May. And I know teachers are kind of getting antsy with
Wanted to know the calendar.
wanting to know
Yeah.
for planning purposes.
Sure. Did you have something to add?
Yeah, it was, the transportation piece.
she mentioned there's grants available. So is the transportation hold up the funds to pay more bus drivers or?
The transportation piece will add hours to one or two bus drivers, whoever has to, how many kids, based on how many kids. It's not from my viewpoint, prohibitive to the overall thing, but I would defer to Jody's knowledge. It shouldn't be prohibitive. It's just another piece that has to be taken care of.
Yeah. Jesse was at the table when we talked about this calendar before we did the staff vote. He was totally fine with it.
And it's not unusual. It happens anywhere I've ever been. You have
So if we have the
Usually an activity
transportation for
bus.
them,
Right.
what?
if we have the transportation for them, then that wouldn't be a hindrance.
And
If we had
transportation would not be.
What to do with the kids,
Right.
specific, like, Tanissa was saying, having that plan in place for both the kids and the teachers
And it'd
at
be
that time.
effective.
Yeah.
We had transportation in our other ones, but it was also until 5 o'clock. That's
And I tend to lean toward, what Ms. Gibbons
Yeah,
says. I think doing this just on Wednesdays
Yeah.
is a nightmare. I think we should try to do it at least 3 days a week. But that's just a thought. Yeah.
You're talking about the after-school program in conjunction with professional development? Okay. Is there any additional discussion from the board? So I would entertain a motion to approve the 25-26 calendar, school calendar, and task the superintendent with this, creating a mechanism to take care of these kids that aren't available to leave. We've got the transportation piece taken care of. Let's hire a principal. In the meantime, let's get our longer-term teachers to try to fill in the gaps on this in lieu of structured leadership, so that you have a calendar committee, correct, and a leadership committee. And so potentially we can lean on those people in order to get this thing up off the ground.
I'm on the leadership committee.
And I'm happy to help any way I can with our school program. And I know I have so much questions. I'm super happy to sit in and help out with this stuff.
So I would entertain a motion to approve the 2025-26 school calendar. All those in favor?
You need a motion yet?
I will make a
We're doing a
motion.
motion.
I'll make a
Yeah.
motion to approve the 2025-2026 school calendar as presented by the calendar committee.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The 2025
Abstain.
and abstain, excuse me.
That's noted for the reasons before.
Absolutely, and for the record. And so the 2025-26 school calendar has been approved. And thank you for the discussion. We're now moving into executive session at.
Wait, before you do,
Okay.
these two Perkins, have we changed the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay, we need an agenda change.
No, we changed the agenda.
Okay, at the beginning. Okay, now we're,
Needs assessment.
do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed say nay. We'll table the discussion on the needs assessment in the 4-year plan till the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Which would be '30th, that would be the 3rd. Excuse me, that's July. The 19th of June, 2025. So we are in executive session as we got a motion. Oh,
How long do we need?
do I need it? I would say, let's start out with 20 minutes, and if we need to extend, we can do that.
Motion to go into executive session until 9:05.
Do I have a second? All those in favor? All those opposed? Question?
Mr. Chairman, just by point of order.
Point of order.
RCW 4230, we have to at least state publicly the topic, the general topic has to be stated.
Personnel.
Personnel issues. Point of order, well received. And for the record, we'll be discussing personnel issues in the executive session. We've had a motion and a second and successful vote starting at 8:44 p.m. Let's call it for 30 minutes to 1:15. And so let's take one more motion because I changed the time frame.
Motion to go into executive session until 9:50.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion successful for executive session for personnel issues for 30 minutes. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
I got the letter for the after-school lunch, or the summer lunch program.
Yes, sir.
So I'm gonna put
Published.
that in with my article in this, as
Thank you.
opposed to a separate